Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for September 26th, 2024. Well, yesterday was kind of a choppy, interesting day with a little bit of downside move, but that seems to have opened up a lot of excitement here today after the Micron earnings and a good push to the upside. So let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, Asian markets had a good night, pushing up across the board. As a matter of fact, that very important 3,000 level on the Shanghai, they ran up and touched that number last night at with that index moving up to 3,000.95. Haven't seen that for a while. Up 104 or 3.61%. Big surge. Hong Kong up 4.16%. We saw the Nikkei up sharply 2.79%. Australia also up at 0.95%. So strong gains in Asia overnight. If we take a look at European markets, they're green across the board. They struggled yesterday, but they are decidedly bullish this morning. Up 212 points in the DAX, or 1.12%. FTSE climbing 16.96 or 21.21% this morning, and the CAC is up 110.06. 1.45% to the upside, so really pushing. And here in the US, we have a big surge in the NASDAQ, up 1.47%, S&P 500 up 0.83, and Dow futures up 0.48%. If we take a look at bonds this morning, well, our bonds are just a little bit lower here in some places. The 2-year bond is at 3.54. The 10-year is at 3.77, and the 30-year is at 4.12. So we'll want to be keeping an eye on those as we progress through the day. There may be some reaction to those on our economic data. If we take a look at the oil markets, well, XLE had quite a pullback yesterday in those oil producers, and OIH as well had some painful pullback here. This morning, it's not getting any better. As you can see, we've got oil futures right now down $1.46 a barrel at 68.23. Brent down $1.51 at 71.95, which is interesting considering that oil, that producer number yesterday, or I mean the petroleum status number yesterday, coming in showing such weakness in supplies. But we'll just have to keep an eye on that. And if you take a look at natural gas going higher here this morning, up a little over 5 cents here this morning, and UNG might be trying to break this major resistance area in the chart. So keep an eye on that. If we take a look at precious metals this morning, well, the surge continues. We take a look at GLD moving on up this morning. Those precious metals trying to push on higher. Right now, gold is up $12.40 an ounce on the futures. We've got silver also higher here this morning. Copper, that had this massive surge the other day, now stretching big time here this morning. Copper surging up, platinum up, and palladium surging big time as well today, as we see likely weakness coming back into the dollar. The dollar surged up, and look at that reversal there on the dollar. So interesting how things are progressing here in these moves. Now you can see right here the bid ask on the dollar is up here, so I would look for that potentially to bounce back up and maybe some softening of some of these commodity prices, but watch that carefully. And then if we take a look at cryptos here this morning, boy oh boy, BITO cryptos are getting a good push to the upside. Bitcoin up $1,127 a coin this morning. Ether is up $51 a coin. That's 1.78 and 1.98% respectively. And we're green across the board in those cryptos this morning. So keep an eye on that. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain a little information about how we might want to approach the market for today. First off, if we take a look at the diamonds here, remember we want to look at these as if want to remove that bias and look at them for what they are, not for what we want them to be. And I mentioned yesterday at the close of the day with Right Way Options, I said, although we had a bearish engulfing candle yesterday, this is still a bullish chart. And we're still within that chop range that I've been talking about here. And really nothing had honestly changed, although it might have been a little bit painful if you were chasing into some stocks first thing in the morning. But notice right in here, we're just bouncing right back up into that chop zone here of the diamonds. If the bulls can find inspiration in the data today, then look for that possibility we pop through that resistance up here at the top. And remember, there's blue sky above beyond that point. If the bears were to be inspired today, we'll then look for that possibility of a retest of this support and a break of that. We break this longer term trend in here and possibly come down here and test this shorter term trend and this good area, pretty decent area of price support. Going beyond that, that's where the market's going to run into some fear. But right now, I don't see that for today. That could certainly change with these economic points. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY, nothing changed yesterday. As a matter of fact, just continuing to show lots and lots of bullishness in this consolidation. No real selling coming in, and you can see this morning we're gapping above that area. So new record highs in the SPY likely here at the open, and blue sky above if that were the case. Now, if the bears were to come into play and find some inspiration here today, and we do want to watch carefully for that potential of a pop and drop here in the market because of these economic data points, but watching carefully if that were to push back and retest this area as support, then no worries. Pushing back down maybe to test the lower side of that of support might raise some concerns, and pushing on past that would certainly raise some issues. But we've got a pretty good level of price support level right in there. As you can see, that's a relatively strong area of price support. So pushing beyond that would really begin to raise some fear in the market. So we'll have to watch that carefully. And if we look at our Russell IWM had another one of those pullback days, and getting into a little bit of a concern on some of the indicators. But if you take a look right here, good hold of support could be in the cards here for IWM. This could actually end up being the next lower high in the Russell, and you can see we're popping here in the pre-market. So if those bulls do find inspiration here today, first thing we need to do is kind of recapture that high right there. Pushing on through there, then I would suggest that possibility that we come up and retest this high in the chart. Popping or breaking through there, then we're up here testing this big resistance area of 2021 and 2022. So keep an eye on that. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration today, well, it's not so hard to see. Breaking down below here, of course, would be a bit of a concern, and probably push us back maybe to some of these levels, like right through here, and possibly to retesting this trend break here as a support in the chart. Breaking down below there, of course, is where we would really raise some concerns in the market. But for this morning, the way we're responding, particularly just to the Micron earnings, we're very, very happy here this morning. And then if we take a look at our VIX, yesterday did a little popping around here right toward the end of the day. It was showing us a little bit of upside move, but then it ended up fading. So what we're seeing here in the VIX is just really no concern at all, which is interesting to me for the end of September. But we'll want to watch that closely. If the bulls find inspiration today, and they're certainly doing that in the pre-market, then that possibility we break down below this support level and we start coming back down here to these lower levels, 12s and 11s, maybe even as low as some of the 10s down in here if those bulls really find inspiration in the market. However, if the bears were to become inspired, watch that opportunity of that pushback up here. And again, it's that break of the downtrend and the possibility of holding a higher low that could really raise some concern in the market. But for now, just worry about the possibility that that would break higher. Let's take a look at our T20s and our T21-22. Boy, yesterday's pullback helped us a lot, because we eased that pressure here dramatically in the market and that upside pressure here. So that gives us an upside opportunity for this pump that we've got going here this morning in the pre-market. Now, I suspect we will very, very quickly be right back up here in the bearish reversal zone. So watch that carefully. That's where we could gap up enough this morning and open in the bearish reversal zone, and that's where that intraday whipsaw can occur. We can pop up in there and then just lose that actual momentum of the morning pop and push back. One of the things we've been seeing here recently is the market can't move much during the day. It's moving overnight. That's institutional activity pushing us around, trying hard to stabilize this market, trying to push it up and keep things on the bullish side. But we don't seem to have the ability to get much going during the day. It's all happening overnight in these pumps and pushes on the institutional side. So watch that carefully. If we do whipsaw, that shouldn't be a big surprise. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration today, we want to keep in mind we still have a big open opportunity for those bears to push lower if they find some reason to do so today. Now, if we take a look at our T2108, well, T2108 pulled back yesterday, but no particular problem here. We came back, we eased some of that overbought pressure, coming back to find some support in the chart, and every reason to believe that we could go on higher from here. Remember, it is up in the mid T2108, it's up here in the mid 70s where we start to run into that extreme overbought situation in the market, and we still have to get through that 70 area here, let alone. So we could have a really strong push in this up and still be okay. But remember, if the bears were to find inspiration, if we were to break some of these support levels in here on the bearish side, that could be a little bit of a concern for the market. So keep a close eye on these data points today. T2107, the same thing, percentage of stocks above the 200-day, held in here on some nice support levels in the chart. You can see no major problem, just a little bit of a fade. That relieved a lot of that buying pressure and could give us that opportunity for a good push back up. You will want to keep in mind once we reach up here, if we reach up here toward those mid 70 levels, mid 65 areas in T2107, we're kind of reaching a very extreme condition in the market. So certainly room for us to go both directions here in T2107. And then, as expected, T2101, as we continue to see more and more companies falling into their blackout period, and the majority of companies now in their blackout period, a breadth of the market is falling. We might get a little bit of a surge up here today. It depends on how much institutional activity would push in here, besides corporate buybacks and things like that. But watch that carefully. We've been fading, and I would suspect we will continue to see this fade until we begin earnings, and it'll be a little time after we start those earnings that we might start seeing that corporate buyback activity picking up and increasing the volume of the market. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we certainly have plenty to be thinking about here today. First off, we've got a durable goods numbers here, and look at the this is a remarkable admission by the consensus. If you can see here, our last reading was 9.9% on durable goods. They're suggesting it's going to fall to a negative 2.7. So there's one of those numbers, y'all, that could give us that whipsaw here first thing this morning. If we're really seeing that consumer weaken that much, that could be a problem. And coming in here, they're actually showing month over month an increase from a negative 0.2 to a 0.0. Core capital goods 0.0. It almost looks like to me that they didn't exactly know what to do with these, so they just left them flat. Watch that carefully this morning. And of course, if we take a look, we've got a GDP number. They're expecting GDP to remain flat. Again, I think they're just punting here, hoping that it stays flat in here, not really sure what's going to happen, and leaving the personal consumption expenditures the same as well. No real major consensus estimate change. If we take a look at our jobless claims, they're looking for those claims to increase just a little bit. A few more layoffs possibly coming into play. One of these days, I expect we're going to see a surprise increase number in here. I've said that for a while, and it still hasn't occurred, but watch that closely. Obviously, consumers are a little bit strained right now. We saw in that consumer number earlier this week that we pretty much ignored, the consumer confidence number dropping from 103. Well, that was the consensus, but 103.3 to 98.7. That was the biggest decline in 3 years on consumer confidence, which means those consumers are not happy. And we'll want to be watching that carefully over here if we start to see that consumer not spending starting to affect those jobless numbers. So watch that. And then after that, we've got some corporate profit numbers, and then we have a big group of Fed speakers here today, with, of course, Jerome Powell being the most notable of those. We're going to have Collins, Bauman, Powell, Williams speaking today. We're going to hear get pending home sales here today. They're looking for those to come in at 3.1%. That's up from a negative 5.5. Makes some sense with the declining rates, so keep an eye on that. We've got natural gas report, and then we're going to have Barr and Cook speaking. Later on in the day, we've got some bond auctions with Kashkari speaking, 7-year note auction, and a Fed balance sheet, and then Cook will be after the bell again speaking today. Then, as we get through all of that, we're going to be thinking pretty heavily about what's going to happen when we get this core PCE number on Friday. Remember, that's the Fed's favorite number, so watch that carefully. And of course, we're going to have international trading goods, wholesale inventories, retail inventories, consumer sentiment, and as we look in here, Baker Hughes Rig and Bauman will be speaking farm prices at the end of the day. So kind of a busy into the week here on economic data. That's not the case on the earnings front, however. On the earnings front, we just don't have a whole lot going on in earnings, but Thursday is typically our biggest day of earnings, and It's going to be the case today. We have, for those notable earnings reports, we have CAN that will be reporting today. Keep an eye on CAN. We're going to hear from KMX. Ooh, that one kind of hurts here this morning. KMX pushing back at JBL. And we're going to have SNX reporting here this morning. After the bell, biggest notable of the day is going to be Costco. Whoops. Got to type the right symbol. Costco will be reporting. We've got BlackBerry reporting. And we have Vail Resorts reporting this afternoon. So keep an eye on those for today. How about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly, truly appreciate it. And thank you so much to everyone who shares these videos on their social media feed and continues to support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link. You guys are truly, truly awesome. Let's take a look at a few of these charts that could be setting up. And remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. And remember that you should be following your rules and your trading guidelines and never blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. So first off, you know that I've been talking a lot about commodities, and I'm going to continue on that vein in here. I mentioned just yesterday, once again, on soybeans, how good this chart was looking, pushing up, breaking through some resistance levels. Had a good surge yesterday to the upside. I would continue to keep an eye on soybeans, corn, wheat, anything in that area. Take a look at DBA, which is a commodity tracking ETF. That thing is just ripping here to the upside. I wouldn't want to chase it here, but a little rest or pullback could set up an opportunity there. You might want to also be keeping a close eye on the precious metals. My goodness. Loving gold at the moment, GLD or PHYS if you want physical gold that you would like to hold rather than paper gold. Silver having a really good run here, big surges, and now trying to break out of these highs here in silver. So take a look at that. We could achieve an all-time high here in silver today as we continue to see all of these currencies fluctuate around, and the US dollar remain relatively weak. So watch that closely. Some good opportunities coming in there. Now, I can't say the same for energy. By golly, energy, we don't seem to be very happy here on that energy front. We're continuing to reject here along the downtrend in the chart. We've broken some support in here that we were trying to hold. There is, however, that possibility that we could form kind of a funky looking inverted head and shoulders pattern if we could suddenly catch a higher low in here and start pushing up. But right now, that's not looking all that promising in here. So I would continue to suggest that energy looks short. And if we were to catch any kind of a rally that creates a lower high, that would give you that opportunity to get short on energy. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our financials. Financials, as I mentioned early in the week, I was a little bit concerned about this double top up here, and we have faded this back here in the chart. We'll want to watch that pretty closely because we just haven't had a lot of energy. You can see we're trying to pop up a little bit today, but watch that carefully as we rally back up into here. If we rally back up and find that lower high in that financial chart, that could be a problem. One of the things we know is happening right now is banks just are not loaning. They're hoping to get some loaning going because we're for the creation of money. But right now, I'm still having some concerns and watching for this potential double top pattern. Now, I'm not at an extreme level of worry here, still holding well above our 50-day. But this is exactly how double tops form. You can see how it formed right here, and certainly has that potential on this side as well, unless we can pick up some kind of momentum here in the market. So watch that carefully. Take a look at stocks like Citibank, trying to get a good pop here this morning, trying to hold, but again, struggling with a big area of price resistance. BAC, not looking so good either, running into this big area of resistance, pulling back. So keep an eye on some of those here in the market. Now, things that seem to be looking pretty good is in some of the pay systems out there. SQ trying to move up in this trend. It had a pretty rough day pulling back. So if it breaks this support completely, follows on through to the downside, then I'd have a little bit of concern with it. But I think there's a chance that this might hold in this area, and then I would look for that next opportunity to the upside there in SQ. Take a look at PayPal. PayPal's had a big surge to the upside, breaking out of this bottoming formation in here. Any rest, consolidation, or pullback in here, I think, sets up an opportunity along that support and trend. Look for that next opportunity there in PayPal. If we take a look at some other places here in the market, take a look at FedEx. Now, FedEx rallying here back up, but I got to tell you, y'all, this is looking like a potential short. And it's one of those things that we have to consider. Our consumer base is struggling here. And when we start to see our shippers, which most people shop online anymore and have everything shipped to them, when we see our shippers showing this much weakness and a potential opportunity setting up here for a short, I would watch pretty carefully for that consumer weakening in that process, that we could begin to slip here. Maybe not this month, but into next month, that concern here in the market. So watch that carefully on FedEx. UPS is also showing us an awful lot of weakness, continuing to move in this downtrend, not able to really pick up and break that downtrend in here. Watch carefully for that possibility as well, for that potential rollover in the charts. Other places that you might want to be taking a look is some of those miners. Take a look at GDX, those gold miners doing incredibly well, really pushing up strongly. GDXJ might be some place to look. You could look at individuals out there like AUY, PAAS. Take a look at Barrick Gold. Lots of strength in some of these miners, so some pretty good opportunities could be had there as well. Take a look at Mickey D's. Mickey D's has been doing a really nice job, and it's really settled into a nice upside trend. Notice this nice little resting consolidation in here. Could set up that next opportunity to the upside here on Mickey D's. So watch that closely as well. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. The kind support of the channel is, so humbling to me. I do appreciate it. And for those of you that are struggling in your trading, if you'd like some help with that, take a look at our service and Right Way Options. We've got a trial that you can certainly take a look, spend an entire month with us, and see if it's for you. Y'all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Friday morning. Wish you all the best.